Okay, welcome to Kung Fu Havoc number 2. I'm going to do a couple of more martial art moves as we talk about what I said earlier about Dan Anasonto. I'm not saying this shit to insult Dan Anasonto. I'm saying this shit as a brother of martial arts and what I believe that he should step up and do. And he needs to do this, and you guys can hate me for this shit, and you guys can come at me if you want for this shit, and I don't give a flying fuck, because if you watch what I tell you to watch, if you do what I tell you to do, you're going to understand that the 47-year-old has been telling you the fucking truth all along, where everyone else tells you what they want you to hear. It's the same thing when you go to the dojos, and I don't want to make any dojos out to be McDojos, but a lot of teachers won't teach you the fancy shit unless you start paying them money. Well, don't pay them. Go watch Ninja Turtles. Go watch Surf Ninjas. You want to learn fancy shit? Go watch everything Ernie Reyes Jr. does, and Jason David Frank, and Gary Daniels, Olivier Gruner, Billy Blanks, Chuck Jeffries. The list goes on and on. You want to watch the fancy shit? Michael Worth, Brian Genesis. Go watch all of their old TV shows, and you will learn every tornado kick, jumping spinning back kick. Go watch some Van Damme shit. You will learn all the fancy shit that you ain't never going to use in a real fight. Alright, you might get lucky. You may use some of that shit in Olympic sports, stuff like that. And if you really want to get really, really fancy and shit that you probably will use, you want to follow Mike Chat. And you want to follow Larry Lamb. Those guys are awesome. You want to follow Yin Yang Man, because those guys do really, really good martial arts. And a lot of it is combat movie stuff, but a lot of it you can find yourself using. However, they're going to tell you, like I'm going to tell you, a lot of the stuff that you see, you won't be able to utilize in an actual fight. However, I'm going to be the first person to tell you, shit happens. And sometimes you get lucky. No, but for me personally, I've never used a tornado kick in anything outside of the movies. Just because of the fear that if I leave the ground more than one time, there's a good chance that you might catch my foot and beat my ass. Alright? So we can't have that. Basics wins fights. Straight up and down. Basic wins fights. You think you're going to bust somebody's ass with a reverse tornado kick? It's a finisher. You can do it if the person is like fucked up, yeah. Then you can probably do the fancy smancy shit. Do I recommend it? Fuck no. Because you've already beaten the motherfucker. There's nothing left for you to do but just push him down and let him fall. But some people don't know how to take a W and go. Some people want to rub the shit in the fucking person's face that they beat up. And that can lead to revenge and trouble. So you probably don't want to do that shit. But hey, I'm not you. Whatever mistake you choose to make, it's on you. But again, fancy smancy shit does not win fucking fights. You want combos that's going to keep your feet on the ground. You want your feet to stay on the fucking ground as much as possible, other than the one foot is leaving the ground. Guys running at you, boom, axe kick. Guys coming at you, boom, front kick. Guys coming at you, side kick. Those kicks are going to do enough damage that you will never have to do that. So you won't have to do a tornado kick. Now, you want to talk sequences? Sequences work great in movies. Sequences work in sports, karate. Sequences work in the streets. But whether you connect or can get moving is the option. You understand? Because here's this. I'm going to do a sequence attack. Let me step back a little bit so I can give you what I want to give you. So, 1, 2, 3. And here's the guy blocking that shit. 1, 2, 3. Alright? Here's the guy blocking and countering. First kick. Boom. Shoom. Because my legs are wide open. You watch where my guard's at. Watch. Watch carefully. See my guard? Boom. 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 Now, if he's blocking, boom. 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 He might not even let me get the second kick off. Because he can block. Boom. Ball City. Play it back. Play it back. And put yourself, if you guys know how to do like camera manipulation, when I get here, play that shit back. And if you can put yourself in a blocking position, your blocking position would be here in your strike. So you would be blocking and striking at the same time, especially if you're doing Wing Chun, because everybody knows Wing Chun. You're going to block and strike. Boom. You're doing Kempo, you're going to block and strike at the same time. And if you're doing Crane, when you block, you're going to come in a double push. So you're gonna fuck my shit up on that first kick. So my first kick comes in, boom. And you see how my guard went down? My guard should have been up. And I'm so used to having my guard down when I throw a kick. See, I know my flaws. I'm used. Watch carefully. See, this guard's okay, but this guard's not. So if you sidestep and go here, I'm done on this side. Because you can sidestep, you're like, boom, boom. Easy peasy. Because this guard was down. Play it back. Now I'm trying to retrain myself to keep my guard there. Because that's where it's supposed to be. But if you watch this back, when you watch my IGTV, you'll see me, boom, boom. This guard's there. But I'm still vulnerable. If I throw that kick and this guy's gotten on this side, that's all she wrote. Because I threw a kick, he sidestepped, boom, ridge hand. He blocked, strike. He blocked, kick. You know, you need to stick to basic shit. If you're going to sequence, the sequence is good if you can get going. But if you're going against somebody who also does Kung Fu, they're going to block your shit. Boom, boom, boom. They're going to pick their spot. And when they pick their spot, and if you're not ready, you're going down. It's really not that difficult. It's really not. And like I said, this shit right here, you're not using that shit in the streets. You can use it in the streets in the movies, because it's cool. You get lucky in the streets, you can use it. But what happens if you go for that, and I go here, and you go over me, and I spin back up into a fighting position? Alright? That's the thing you have to understand about fights, man. Fights are not like the movies. Period. Sometimes you get in there, boom! Motherfucker's gone. And he might have been a way better fighter. He might have been a fucking professional. But it's where you hit. Because when I'm going to fight you, I'm going to throw out a couple of jabs. If I can get into your throat, I'm hitting you in the throat. I'm not hitting you in the face. I'm hitting you square in the fucking throat. So, boom! If I can get that bitch in your throat, that's where I'm going. If I can get that bitch in your sternum or your solar plexus, that's where I'm going. If you throw a punch, I'm going to clap that shit. I'm going to break your fucking elbow. So, if you're throwing a right jab, snap, boom. Throwing a right jab, snap, boom. I got options. You throw a right jab, the option I'm not going to do, I'll do it in the movies because it's a movie where I would do karate, where I'd step in, elbow, break your elbow with my shoulder up against my shoulder against your elbow and stuff. But the problem with that is the movies doesn't teach you that while you're right here, this guy's got a hand all over here. Boom, boom. You're breaking his elbow? No. You're attempting to break his elbow while you're eating lunch because he's going to be eating the fuck out of your face with his fist. That's the reality of a fucking fight. Fights are not one-sided like in the movies. Understand that shit. Professionals will tell you in the UFC, yeah, once that damn bell rings and you're touching each other out, endurance is important. Cardio is important. And if you ain't got cardio or endurance, it doesn't matter how good of a fucking fighter you are, especially if you don't have endurance. If your cardio sucks but you got good endurance and you have good durability and good recovery, then you got a fighting chance. But if you suck at all the things I just named, cardio, endurance, durability, if you're not tough, if you're soft as cotton and you're a one-hitter quitter but you can't take a hit back, you're not a bad fighter. It's just that you have to know who the fuck you're fighting. You go study this guy before you get in the ring with him. That would probably be a good idea. But here's the thing on that. Everyone he's been in the ring with is not you. And this is the thing when people tell you, alright, this works for most athletes when they scout the guy that they got to fight. This works for most athletes. But you have to understand, if you don't do a side-by-side comparison with yourself, you're going to fuck yourself when you get in that ring. Alright? Coaches don't tell you that shit. I'm going to tell you that shit. Because here's that thing. If he fought John Smith and Geronimo and he beat both of them the same way, he's expecting to beat you the same way, but he doesn't know you. He didn't know them either. He could have gotten lucky. They may not have had no skill. They may have had more skill. He might have just hit them in the right spots. All kinds of factors will happen in a fight. But you study him fighting Geronimo. You study him fighting John Smith. You study him fighting Sitting Bull. I'm just throwing out random names. You studied him fighting Jose Riviera. Alright? or Hector Ramirez from G.I. Joe, and Jose Ramirez from Transformers. I might be getting those confused. But you've studied him fighting these guys, so you know what he does with them. You have no idea what he's going to do with you. And on the same token, he's studying you fighting those same guys. But let's say each one of those guys he's fighting, you beat them differently, except for Jose Rivera, who surprised you and he got a TKO. So you're 6-1, and this guy's 6-0. He's never lost. You're gunning to be his first loss, to redeem yourself from Jose Rivera. Jose Rivera is the champ. All right, so let's just put it that way. So you're gunning to get this guy because he's 6-0, and if you get that sixth fight and you win, you'll be 6-1, and then you'll have that fucking championship belt to go against Jose Rivera once again. So you have to understand how this shit works. You have to beat this guy. He don't have to beat you. He wants to beat you because if he wins, he gets the title shot. Because not like wrestling, there's no triple threats in UFC or in one champion and none of that shit. Now, if it was a whole wrestling scenario, yeah, then both of y'all would probably have a triple threat match. But here's the thing. Wrestling is real, at least the physical part. The other part, you know, they probably work all that shit out as the story goes along, but that doesn't change the fact that the moves are real. Get powerbomb one time and you'll shut the fuck up. Anyway, I'm going to put it to you this way. You can be powerbombed in the streets. I've seen it done. You can be powerbombed in UFC. I believe I've seen it done, but I won't swear to it. That might have been won or wrecked, but I know I've seen it done. And you damn sure going to get powerbombed in wrestling because it's like a finishing move. Alright? But it can be done. So don't think that no one won't powerbomb your ass in the street or slam you through a car door. It does happen. It's called a street fight for a reason. But every time that you get into that ring, you're not fighting the guy you study. You're only going to learn 20% of what he does. I promise you. No matter how much studying you've done, you are only going to learn 20% of what this motherfucker does in the ring. And 20% is not good. So you can focus on his 20%, or you can focus on your whole 100% on how you're going to beat this guy. But when you get in that ring, everything you studied, out the window. Because it's not going to matter. You're not Geronimo. You're not Jose Rivera. You're not John Smith. You're not Hector Ramirez. You're whoever you are. And then you're going against Joe Blow. And Joe Blow, the only damn thing Joe Blow knows he can't do is hit you with a low blow. And you know what style he was because they're going to tell you, oh, he's a Wing Chun practitioner, or he's a kickboxer, or he's MMA all day. He's one of those people. And you're going to know that going in. You're going to know that months in advance, which is why you're training, you're going to be studying this guy's fights. And if you're not studying this guy's fights while you're training, you're fucking yourself. Alright? So while you're doing your cardio, your 100 push-ups a night, you need to have a video screen down on there and push up and watch him. Push up and watch him. And you need to be studying all of his shit. Because anything that you miss, any fighter that you miss, that's going to be the one that he's going to use to whoop your ass with. Because you were not aware. Alright, now let's get down to the guts and gritty of this thing before I run out of time. I said some shit about Dan Anasonto today on my way to work. Alright? It was not negative. It was not negative. I have nothing negative to say about Dan Anasonto. However, what I said and what I meant to say was on the same goddamn page. And what I said was, Dan Anasonto, respectfully, you need to start defending Bruce Lee. You need to start defending Bruce Lee. I know you're still alive, but you need to start defending Bruce Lee because everybody's sleeping on Bruce Lee. Everybody's saying he's a phony. He was just an actor. He was never in a fight, etc., etc. Okay, cool. Y'all have tangible proof of that, right? No, you don't. All you have is stories. So I guess the fight with him and Wong Jock Min wasn't a real fight. But you guys have stories. I guess when he told the guys on the set who thought they could whoop his ass and he fucked them up, those are stories. Granted, let me explain something to you. Just because you didn't see it doesn't mean it didn't happen. A lot of people are sleeping on Bruce Lee. A lot of people are Bruce Lee overrated. Bruce Lee overrated. This man is not here to defend himself. I'm also kind of upset that Chuck Norris hasn't come out and defended Bruce Lee. Ed Parker's dead, so he can't come out and defend Bruce Lee. But you know, everybody who knew Bruce Lee Everybody who's in this school needs to come out and defend Bruce Lee against all these people who were saying Bruce Lee was a fake, Bruce Lee was a phony, Bruce Lee was just an actor. Alright? Well, as I said earlier today, I will make this abundantly clear. I was a street fighter. I can't prove to you what I've done from the age of 6 to 12. There was no video cameras in the hood. Alright? Might have been in the stores, but there were none in the hood. When Jonah was going around from 6 to 12 busting motherfuckers up, that would be me. Jonah. Don't come after me. I'm still good with my shit. When I wasn't going by my actual name, I fought until I was 12 years old. From the age of 6, I started learning martial arts at 7. No one who ass I kicked is going to come to me and say, let's do a live, James, so I can tell them how bad you whooped my ass. No one's going to do that. No one's going to go and embarrass themselves and make me look better than I am. You know, no one's going to do that. No one. No one wants to embarrass themselves. No one wants to humiliate themselves. But let me put this in layman's terms for you. Just because you didn't see it doesn't mean that it didn't happen. Alright? Just because I have no record of fighting doesn't mean that I can't fight. Just because you don't think that I am a legitimate badass does not mean that I am not. Let me explain something to everyone watching. Because back in 1993, UFC did not give me a job. I was 19 years old. The internet was starting. Shoot fighting had been starting since 1987. And a lot of those shoot fighters went to the UFC and it didn't make it past the first round. And before the fucking NFC, there was a Chinese woman, 5'1", whooping every man's ass that came into that ring. There was a Chinese man at 5'3", whooping everybody's ass that came into that ring. And I can't remember or pronounce their names, but I remember secretly finding shoot fighting tapes at like Blockbusters and all those other places and popping them in the VHS. And I was like, yeah, when I graduate from high school, I want to do that. Because everybody was like, you ain't no damn good. You ain't no damn good. And hearing that you're not any damn good fuels you to want to fight. Just to see how good you actually are. Which goes back to why I don't have a black belt. Because if I can't fight for a black belt, I'm guaranteed I'm never going to get one. Because kindness for a black belt is great. Breaking a brick proves nothing. Breaking a board proves nothing. It doesn't prove that you can fight. It just proves that you can break a brick or break a board. It does not prove from highway to heaven or hell if you can fight your way in a bad situation. And like I said, 70% of the dojo shit only works in the dojo. 30% of that shit will work outside. And if anyone's not teaching you that shit, you need to get a new teacher. Gonna go a little longer before my battery on my phone dies. And I'm gonna go wash off my superhero stank. The thing about martial arts you have to understand. Not everyone who's a great martial artist has been given an opportunity. You know, I'm 5'3.5". WWE would never put me in a wrestling ring at 5'3.5". I'm taller than a midget and smaller than a regular wrestler. You know, couldn't find wrestling schools in Virginia to go to that would even fucking accept me. And everywhere I've been in any form of entertainment businesses of trying to get signed and shit has always told me, you're too small. You're too small. Get your weight up. So let me drop it down for you before I get back on Dan and Anasonto. Wreck, Pride, Havoc. ISK. I sent applications to get into those motherfuckers when they came out. When they started launching. Before the Deuce got big, because the Deuce only showed ISK on Fridays at like 11 o'clock in 1993. So when I got off from work on Fridays, I had to wait till like 2 a.m. to watch ISK kickboxing. I'm 5'3", a $120. No one would give me a fucking job. And ISK really didn't have a weight class. But they wouldn't give me a fucking job. And ISK was based in New York. 8 hours. 8 hours. No one would give me a fucking job. So everybody's gonna be looking at my videos and saying, you ain't shit, you ain't shit, you don't know shit. Okay, that's fine and dandy. But if we ever meet and you try to do something stupid, you're gonna find out that sometimes when you think somebody's not shit, you learn the really fucking hard way that they are not just the shit, but they're gonna beat your shit. Understand that. This isn't a threat, this is a notification. This is not a spoiler alert. I'm just letting you know I'm 47. I never got one fucking opportunity to fight professional. When I wrote to fucking whoever was in charge of the fucking UFC before Dana White got a hold of it. I asked, do you have a flyweight or phantom weight? And they said no. Our lightest weight is 130 pounds. I couldn't gain weight until I got in the Army. So I get in the Army in 2010. Now they got my weight class in the 115 to 125. But it's too late because I'm 130 pounds now and I'm face down in Sand fucking Hill doing my service. Fucked up my hip. Now I will never get the chance to fight in the ring professionally because this hip limits my movement. Yeah, I can still walk. Y'all see what I can do. I have a big metal sheet in my ass. So there's no way in hell that I'm ever going to be a professional now. No way. That ship sailed. And I wasn't able to get on that ship because I couldn't gain weight. And then when I finally got to the 130 pounds, my legs fucked up. So no, it's not an excuse, it's a fucking fact. They should have gave me a job in my 20s. My teens. I told them, I'm 19 years old. I've been doing martial arts since I was 7 years old. I fought in the streets since I was 6. They laughed that shit right off. Sent me a little postcard. Get your weight up, son. Havoc did the same thing. Wreck did the same thing. Pride did the same fucking thing. And then all these guys started getting super big. UFC got super fucking big. And I just gave up. Because I got tired of begging. I looked at the roster for wrestling. The smallest wrestler was Rey Mysterio, 5'7". 5'6" or 7. Every bit of 140 pounds. I could not metaphysically gain weight. So no matter what I ate, I took the fucking supplements, and all I did was like get nowhere. I got nowhere. So for you people who don't know who I am, hi for the people who do. This thing's gonna cut me off in a few, but you know, if you don't get the chance, if you're not given an opportunity to shine, then you won't. Which is why I'm doing everything on Instagram and YouTube to revive my life so that I can live my best life. I want my acting career to take off so I can still do martial arts. I just can't go hardcore anymore because this hip is done. And this hip is about done, so I'm doing everything I can to save it. Now, let me get back on Dan Anasonto and what I actually said. And what I said and what I meant was really quite simple. And it's really the fucking truth. And if you guys are a Dan Anasonto fan, then you should stand behind me with this shit. And Chuck Noris should stand behind me with this shit. Y'all need to stop letting people sleep on Bruce Lee. Y'all need to stop letting people say Bruce Lee is a phony. Bruce Lee's never been in a prize fight. Alright, he's never been in a prize fighter. That does not make him any less dangerous. It's the same thing with the mystical, magical shit that everybody throws on the Shaolin. And then you beat a Shaolin monk and you're like, oh, well, they're not that tough. Newsflash for you. You may have just met the weakest monk. That's the thing you don't understand about fighting. I'm going to explain this to you before I end this video. It's not the martial art, it's the martial artist. Alright? You may have met a Shaolin who's only been practicing Shaolin Kung Fu for maybe 6 months. Yeah, 6 months is a lot, but it's not a lot when you have to practice something that is like fucking 1,000 centuries old. Suicide dives are done to build the body. You might come against a TIE fighter. TIE fighters take 7 to 8 hour beatings. Real TIE fighters in Thailand. Boom, boom, boom. With rods that go from this small to this big to harden up their body. The only place a TIE fighter doesn't get hit is primary weapons. Elbows and knees. And so, if you're taking TIE fighting and you're going through the motions, you know, boom, 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 boom. You're learning. But if you're taking the American version, not kickboxing, but TIE fighting, you're doing everything I just done, only you're not getting hit. When you get a knee and you hold that position, you don't have somebody taking a board to your gut to make sure that you are tough enough to absorb the pain. Why you think TIE fights last so fucking long? It's because these motherfuckers take these motherfuckers take ass whoopings so that when they get in that ring, pain ain't even a thought. The only thought in a TIE fighter's head in a ring, a real TIE fighter's only thought, victory. That's it. They will fight you until they can't. It's the same as anybody else that's like adrenaline based on fighting. See, Here's the thing about fighters. Every fighter now, you're not going to be pissed off if I get back on Dan Anasonto. Every fighter knows two things. There are lots of types of fighters in this world. There are the fighters who like getting hit. It fuels them. It makes them want to fight more. It makes them want to get hit more because they really thrive on that shit. And this way they know how much they can take before they either go down or before they knock you down. And then there's those fighters who can't take a hit at all. And when they get hit, they go down. So they have to eliminate you quickly. So they are, boom, boom. They are the quick hits that I got to get in and get out. Because if I can't nail you with one good hit, I got to whittle your ass down like bug bites. You have those fighters. And you have those Brock Lesnar's, where as soon as I hit you, I'm going to make sure you go to sleep. Now, Brock tough. I'm not going to take anything from Brock. But, a lot of people will say this about Brock or that about Brock. And it's the same thing they kind of said about CM Punk and all this other shit. Here's the thing. You have different fighters in different capacities. The first thing every fighter should know and should do whenever you become a fighter of any kind, whether it's professional, whether it's in the streets, whether it's bare knuckles, you need to make that fucker across the aisle, the one you're fighting, fight your fight. I'm not a boxer. Last damn thing I'm going to do is go win boxing a boxer. I'm looking for an ass whooping. That's what I'm doing. He knows every ounce of what boxing is. Alright? I'm a brawler. I can go with him, but every time I get in, he's going to eat my ass up. I learned this as a 14-year-old kid in Smithfield, Virginia, when I was supposed to be sparring with this kid named Corey, and Corey ate my ass up. He was supposed to be pulling his punches. He didn't. Every time I hit him once, he hit me 3 or 4 more times. And lightning quick. So I jab him, boop, boop, boop. He'd tear my ass a new one. So I learned right then and there not to fight this guy's fight. I got to make him fight my fight. If you are a fighter, if you are training in martial arts and you are not trained to make that person fight your fight, get a new teacher. I'm sorry, your teacher might be cool as shit, but if he's not teaching you to make this guy fight your fight, you want to control the tempo of every fight you're in. Whether it's professional, whether it's wrestling, whether it's a street fight. You want to control that fucking tempo. You want to control that fight dynamically from the jump. The minute that guy throws a punch, boom, boom. You want to have control of that fight. And of course, if it's a sucker punch, you need to be able to recover really fucking quickly. But you want control of that fight. You're fighting a kickboxer, don't get into his stance, because now he's read your motion. He's read all of what your range is. And a lot of martial artists can do that, which is something else most martial artists don't tell you when you start taking their classes. When you start taking their classes, they don't tell you that some of us martial artists, us down home grown motherfuckers, can read your movements by how you stand. A lot of us can read your movements by how you stand. We know if you're going to throw a light jab because you're laying back versus a full jab when you're fully extended and you lean into that bitch. But a lot of motherfuckers can't read your moves. But a lot of martial artists, old school, from the 80s and 90s, my generation, us Generation Xers, we can read your shit. Yeah, if you sitting there, I'm gonna do this dumb shit. Yep. You're gonna go ahead and do that dumb shit. Bam! I'm not gonna throw a full-on long punch. I'm gonna wait for you to come in. You come in, you throw a jab, and I get out of the way, I'm catching you right in the fucking chin. And why? Because it was the closest thing I could get. Now, if we're fighting my fight, when you come in, boom, low angle gung fu kick, right here. That's gonna step you back. When you step back, I'm gonna step in. If you continue to step back, I'm gonna back you up until you can't. If I get you to a wall, I'm gonna eat your ass up. Now, let's say you're a better fighter than me. I'm gonna use a pole technique. You guys can go check my videos out on the pole technique. If I have to fight your fight, I'm going to turn the tides on that fight as fast as I fucking can. If I got to throw a table at you or a rock, I'm going to do something that's going to make this shit become my fight. I understand. And this is the thing. If you are not a good fighter, then you know how to be a good adapter. A lot of people lose fights because they beat themselves. And that's the thing that you have to understand. You can beat yourself. You can overthink that shit. You can overpower yourself. You can overstep, overreach. And the next damn thing you know, you're going to sleep. It's really not that difficult to beat yourself. It really ain't. That didn't come out exactly the way it should have. Beat yourself. But anyway, the thing is, every fighter is a variation of who they want to be and the level that they're trying to get to. Some of us never get there. Some of us overreach and go past that level, and we're better than we think we are. I'm one of those people. I used to think that my shit sucked until I was 15 and I had to fight a guy 3 times my size. After that, nobody really bothered me anymore because everybody who ever bullied me saw that shit. Until we got into high school. Then they teased me and teased me and teased me, but they would never show up to fight me. And then there was a couple of cats on the football team that kept trying to fuck my legs up, and I would kick them in the chest. So up until I was no longer welcome to play football with them, that was the thing. Because if you want to fight dirty, I'm going to fight dirty too. But I'm going to fight a lot more dirtier than you. And I'm going to enjoy it. Because fighting is something that I have been doing since I was 6 fucking years old. Can I lose? Fuck yeah. And you know how I can lose? If I do 2 things. If I tell myself I'm going to lose, I've already fucked myself. If I believe I'm going to lose, same concept. Now, can I come against somebody a little bit better than me and have him whoop my ass? Yes. However, doesn't mean I'm going to lose. He might be whooping my ass until he makes a mistake, which is the traditional thing of, is it better to be a stronger fighter or a tougher fighter? Any of you out here saying it's better to be stronger? You just screwed yourself. Because if you can take a beating and you got good cardio and you can last, you'd be surprised at how quickly you can take somebody who's stronger than your ass out because they don't have good cardio, because they don't have a good skill set. You have to understand how fighting works. A lot of schools don't teach you how fighting works. You have to make your opponent fight your fight, or you're fucked. It's just as simple. If you go in trying to fight your opponent's fight, you go in against a boxer and you don't know what the fuck the first rule of boxing is, you're probably going to get your ass kicked. You're going against a kickboxer, but you don't know how to kickbox. You know a little bit of boxing, but a kickboxer can use his feet. A regular boxer does not. So you have to move around, you know, but a kickboxer is going to move around too. The only difference between kickboxing and boxing is that he uses his fucking feet. It's pretty much the gist of it. Now, the only difference between Muay Thai and kickboxing is that Muay Thai is solid fucking shit. American kickboxing is a little watered down. So you have to understand how this shit works. No one's going to admit to anything watered down. American Wing Chun is watered down. Now, when you see a full-blown Asian person doing Wing Chun, you're learning real shit. When you see somebody like me doing it, I've learned from somebody who may not have been Asian, who may have taught me what they were taught, who may not have been taught by an Asian, which means some shit is missing. And when you have a martial art when shit is missing, you learn a different martial art and you fill in the gaps. Because if you don't, you're going to get fucked up. Understand that shit. Understand that shit. Now, finally, let's get back on Dan Anasonto and where I was going with that. So this is going to be it, so I can end this video and then go wash off this superhero stank. Dan Anasonto is one of Bruce Lee's progenies and one of his star pupils. He also helped train Brandon Lee before Brandon Lee passed. And you guys can go Google Dan Anasonto and learn all you know about Dan Anasonto. My problem with Dan Anasonto is really simple. Get your ass up and start defending Bruce Lee. Straight the fuck up. Start defending Bruce Lee. When people are going around hollering that Bruce Lee is a phony, when people are saying that Bruce Lee was not a real fighter, when he was just an actor, etc., etc. Alright? I was born in 1973. Bruce Lee died July 1973. I used to know the exact date, but it's like the 21st or something now. I don't really remember. But I know his birthday was in November. I was born on August 23rd, 1973. Bruce Lee died in July 1973. So everything before that, Dan Anasonto lived through. So Dan Anasonto, if you're out there and you're listening to me, you need to start defending Bruce Lee when you have all these people who admire you bust out and say, Bruce Lee was fake. Bruce Lee was an actor. Bruce Lee's never been a prize fighter. Lots of motherfucking martial artists have never been prize fighters and can still kick your fucking ass. So don't think for a New York minute because a martial artist hasn't been in a prize fight that their martial arts is not legit. Understand, opportunities have to be given. If you ain't got the opportunity, no one's going to know if you're good or not. The neighborhood people, the local people who've seen you actually do shit, they're gonna know that you're good. But as far as the world's concerned, you're not good. And now you see my dilemma. No one knows if I'm good or not. No one gives a shit. But also no one wants to know or give the fucking guys who don't get the chance to actually shine. Like I said, I applied for the UFC way back in 1993. Here I am, 40 some odd years later at 47 years old. Still nothing. UFC will never give me a job now because of my crippledness. But at that same time, they could have reached out to me any time before I joined the Army. Because I know they had my shit in the archive somewhere, unless they burnt everything when they started using computers. But I know the places that I applied for. You know, I think Pride went out of business. I think Rec went out of business. I'm pretty sure Havoc went out of business. But, you know, the thing was, none of the places that I applied for, except the UFC, still exist. I never heard of one champion until like 2 years ago. And like I said, I got this hip replacement 5.5, 6 years ago. So, yeah. I can still train. I can still do a few things. You've seen me if you watch these videos, if you see me live. But as far as ever getting in the ring, ain't gonna happen. Before my hip replacement, I did apply for an MMA thing here. The problem was, MMA has rules. There is no hitting in the testicles. There is no elbowing in the spine. I'm in a cage. I was a street fighter before I was a martial artist. And you're going to tell me that I'm not allowed to fight the way I was trained. So I'm not allowed to sidestep and knee a person and elbow them. So I'm not allowed to do that. I have to follow the rules. I'm sorry. In a street fight, there are no rules. I can't turn this shit off. I'm going to instinctively do what I was trained to do. Hopefully you guys will understand that. And hopefully Dan Anasonto won't be mad at the shit that I said, because all I really said was he needs to get off his ass and start defending Bruce Lee. And everybody like Chuck Norris and all these other motherfuckers that keep saying Bruce Lee was fake and all that shit, y'all weren't there. Chuck Norris was there. Dan Anasonto was there. And out of respect for the dead, both of them need to get off their ass and respectfully say, hey man, y'all weren't there. We were. We know what Bruce was. You know, defend the man. Because he put martial arts on the map. Everyone who does martial arts should be fucking respectful. That's all I got to say. Thanks for watching Kung Fu Havoc number 2, BC and you. Everyone here from TikTok and Instagram.